Blockbuster deal in the NHL on this Friday night. Quinn Hughes is on his way to Minnesota. The Canucks have traded their captain to the Wild for center Marco Rossi, D-men Zeev Buium, forward prospect Liam Ogren, and a first-round pick this summer. With Reda Hayes, the host of Overdrive Hazer, Hughes won the Norris just 2 years ago, a finalist again last year, the Canucks captain, and now he's gone. Was this just a case of we figured he was leaving at the end of next season anyway, so let's just get what we can?
Yeah, I think that was a big part of it. I think when Adam Foote came out this week and said that these rumors are starting to affect the room, right, or certainly are a part of the locker room culture right now in Vancouver, I think at that point you realized time is ticking here. And I think they've learned from their lesson from a year ago. The Elias Pettersson, JT Miller story, that was so toxic, so explosive. And at some point, they realized they had to move off one of those players. They eventually moved off JT Miller, and it felt very similar here. The context obviously different. Right, that was Pettersson versus Miller. That was infighting. This is about Quinn Hughes and future employment and whether or not he'd be willing to stay in Vancouver. And I think the fact that the team is struggling as much as they are this year, it became very clear it was going to be tough to pitch that to Quinn Hughes. You're not going to get his brothers to come to Vancouver, and I'm not sure you can pitch that you're going to win in the next 2 or 3 years in Vancouver. But I do think the Miller-Pettersson dust-up and them maybe waiting a little bit too long to make the move, trading JT Miller and maybe not getting enough because they lost a lot of that leverage. I think they applied that logic to the Quinn Hughes move here, and they realized we got to move on this. Why wait until the summer, right? This season's sunk. They're not going anywhere. And if they knew Quinn Hughes wasn't going to sign long-term, why not trade him now? Because it's likely you get more today than you would in the summer, and that's exactly what happened.
How did we get here, Hazer? In the 23-24 season, the Canucks were rock stars, class of the Pacific, third in the conference. And now, as you say, a painful season looks like a total surrender. Is there any explaining what happened to this organization?
It's very difficult to explain. It's very difficult to explain. Some of it is self-inflicted, some of it out of their control. We just referenced the Pettersson-Miller dust-up. That's not on Rutherford. That's not on management. That's not on coaching or ownership. That's on the players. But this is a crumbling of a team that was elite, unlike anything we've maybe ever seen, Gino. I really don't think you can overstate that. They won the Pacific 2 years ago, right? They won a round against Nashville. They pushed Edmonton to 7. That year, Rick Tocchet won the Jack Adams. He's now in Philly 18 months later. Quinn Hughes, you mentioned, won the Norris Trophy. He's now in Minnesota. JT Miller had over 100 points. He's now in New York. Elias Pettersson had almost 90 points. He's a shell of his former self in terms of what he's playing and what he's bringing to the table. And now he's getting paid way more money. And Thatcher Demko started over 50 games that season. And as we know, he is an unreliable player right now just based on his injury history. And I'm not sure how you can project he's ever going to get to 50-plus starts again. Obviously, if you're in Vancouver, you're hoping he will. But it's a complete crumbling of a castle that looked like it was being built towards pursuing Stanley Cups. And now the reality is you're hoping lottery balls fall your way. It's a complete dismantling in 18 months. Top team in the Pacific, stud defenseman, stud centers, great coach, stud number one goalie, and you've got nothing left to show for it. It's got to be incredibly difficult to chew on if you're a Canuck fan because they've had a difficult run, right? They're still chasing that elusive Stanley Cup. And I think a couple of years ago, if you were a Canuck fan, you felt like you were really close. Maybe not Sedin brother era, real close. Maybe not Lyndon Bure era that close, but real close. And now you're as far away as you could possibly be.
Okay, so Marco Rossi, a guy who's never had more than 24 goals or 60 points in a season. Buium, a 20-year-old D-man who plays about 18 minutes a game. Ogren, a first-round pick forward from 2022 and a first-rounder this summer. Did the Canucks get enough in return for Quinn Hughes?
I think time will tell, Gino, but I think the fact that they took the young pieces in the picks is a smart play. This wasn't a patchwork trade, right? There were a lot of rumors. Could he possibly go to Jersey for Hischier? Maybe he goes to a different team for veteran players, patchwork players who are going to come in and really not do much over the next 3 years because the team isn't prepared to win. I think bringing in prospects and picks and opening up flexibility in terms of the cap was the smart play. It's very difficult to do. It's very difficult to accept. I understand maybe ownership won't love it. Right? Maybe management thinks, okay, we got to really dig in here. But I think it's the right approach, right? Quinn Hughes is a great, great player, maybe the greatest player in franchise history. The reality is when you trade the best player, it's difficult on the surface day one to put the pieces together where you say, I know we've won it, right? Or at least we tied it. But I think the fact that they didn't go with someone in their late 20s, early 30s, they didn't bring in veteran players and try to patch something together to get back to the playoffs this year, next year, the year beyond, it's the right play. You had to move off Hughes. You weren't going to keep him. Obviously, they set a price, and to the credit of Bill Guerin and the Minnesota Wild, they met it, and that's the way business should play out. You set your price. If someone's going to pay it, pull the trigger.
All right, let's lift ourselves out of Vancouver, as hard as that is right now. What do you think this means to Quinn Hughes, the Wild, and maybe the NHL in general?
I love it. I love it. I think blockbuster deals are so significant for any business structure in pro sports. We've seen multiple trades on Friday. It's a great, great Friday. It's a great Friday in the sport. But I love how bold Bill Guerin is here, because Minnesota, right? They've had their hockey team, they've had their NHL team back for a while, and the reality is they just have not been in the fight. You know, outside of when they went out and got Parise and Suter, when they paid, obviously, Kaprizov this past summer, they've just been a team kind of lurking, just kind of hanging around, waiting to pounce. And they're in an incredibly difficult division. Colorado and Dallas are juggernauts. They're the two best teams in the league. But I love that Bill Guerin and the Wild said, don't forget about us. We believe we're pretty good too, because they are. And you bring in Quinn Hughes, you've got him for 2 years. And maybe you can keep him long term. If you pair him up with Kaprizov, that's magical, man. And they've got really good players. They got a really good system. They obviously believe in the coach, believe in the goaltenders. I love this for Minnesota. I love that Bill Guerin didn't just sit there and say, you take it, Colorado, because you're off to a good start. You take it, Dallas, because you go to the playoffs every single year. Minnesota needed to make some noise. They started with the Kaprizov signing. They didn't end there. They likely made a promise to him they'll stay active. This is as active as you can get. I love when managers are bold. This is as bold as it gets, and you're getting a great, great player. And I think once Hughes settles in, man, he's going to make some noise in that division.
We're going to be talking about this day for a long time. The entire direction of the Vancouver franchise has now shifted. The question now becomes, how long is it going to take before they get this ship back on the right course?